Hi, happy Sunday. Happy Sunday, everybody. We are back with Chit Chat Podcast. And look, I need you guys liking and sharing this live today because we have an important episode that we want to do today. And it's not just for us, it's for our partners, it's for the men that we deal with. And our episode topic today is Heal That Bro. And you might want to say, like, what do you mean heal that bro? So heal that bro is a topic that we're going to dive deep into about the quiet battles that many men carry, the traumas that they never speak of, the wounds that they never process, and emotions that they were taught to hide. We're going to unpack some conversation about codependency, emotional detachment, and unspoken expectations that are placed on men in relationships and marriages and their families, work, all of that. And just as importantly, as we explore the role of men and how it plays in our relationships, we're going to talk about loving them blindly. You know, how we overpour as women, overgive, and trying to heal a man who won't confront his own pain. And a lot of us do that. So these are real conversations that we're going to have today. So I need you guys checking in, tapping in, because this is, and sharing this with a male that you know that can benefit from listening to this episode. We know that it's going to be raw and honest conversation. So, and those are the kind of conversations we want to have. You know, it's time for us to start breaking cycles and choosing healing over hiding and building relationships where both people grow and not bleed on each other. So, when we're talking about the battles that men fight silently, these hidden traumas, childhood wounds, emotional shutdowns, codependency patterns, all of these show up in our day-to-day lives. We see it in relationships. We see it in marriages. We see it as parenting with these partners. We're also we see it when we're trying to love them and trying to deal with them on situations and platforms like career and work situations. So we're going to be talking. We know as women, we know how hard it is to love someone, especially, and to love hard, love deep. But it's also extremely hard to love somebody blindly, not knowing what you're dealing with, what you're going to be faced with, trying to love somebody that is dealing with all these things behind the scenes, behind the window that you have nothing, you don't know anything about. So those are the conversations we're going to have. So we're not asking you to try to fix him or to carry him or to rescue him or to heal him, because that's not your job. What we're trying to do is help acknowledge, the things that have created pain, so that way we can start healing where we need to heal, and pouring peace into someone's life who's committed to the emotional, committed to like emotional survival mode, because there's a lot of people who are out here just surviving. They're not even living and thriving. They're just surviving. And so we want to help with that. And when we saying you can't save a man, you can't save a man. Sometimes, there's men out there who still drowning and they refuses to face the things that they're hiding and dealing with. So today, this real conversation that we're going to have with our guest, Mr. Juan Lee, our relationship and therapist coach that's going to come on with us. We're going to dive in talking about healing, accountability, emotional intelligence, and what healthy love looks like for both men and women. So when you're dealing with your partner in that kind of way, you'll know that it's not your job to fix them or whatever. It's your job to help them acknowledge and be aware of the pain and the traumas and the things that they have hidden. So that way we can conquer the things that we're trying to face. So without further ado, we're going to bring who we have affectionately called him on the Chit Chat podcast, the Love Doctor. But we're going to bring on Mr. Juan Lee, our relationship and life coach, who is our guest that we have once a month on. So, Mr. Juan.
Hello.
Hello, and welcome back.
Good. I'm great to be back. I just want to again make a little bit of clarity because we want to be clear. No therapist, mindset coach
Mindset coach.
in the space of a love mindset coach, and want to help you navigate life with a different kind of a mindset, give you an alternative to what you've challenged, how you've been challenged to understand what love is in the past,
Right.
give you a different perspective. So I'm here just to help you navigate this thing called life, just like everyone else. But again, you need that expertise, that therapy.
Hmm.
Means go get that professional counseling and help that you need.
Absolutely. So as we start this conversation, as one, because this is so heavy and it's so important though. But I want to start the conversation with, where did this all start? Like, because this I mean, just listening to the topic, heal that, bro. Trying to be blindly loved. We're faced with this every day where women, are trying to blindly love somebody that don't know what he's trying to heal from. So where did this all start from? Let's explore how some of these men have been conditioned or suppressing these emotions and things that they're hiding and don't want to deal with.
That's interesting. I don't know if the or the video that was shared with me earlier this week
Hmm.
was a good example. Was of a young man who was sharing about men really wanting to understand the need to do the work that's necessary to be able to overcome those types of um, trauma, young trauma. But I guess we got to really go back a little bit further to understand how we get to the place where we are. And one of the things that I like to reference when I talk about this is in my book. I wrote a book called Love Made Simple: The Guide to Inner Peace, Contentment, and Success. And one of the chapters that I put in there, in the 10th chapter, has to do with the family.
Hmm.
And what it really refers to is, it's the chapter is called the framework for life.
Hmm.
And it's about what the family's role is.
Okay.
Everybody in our lives have responsibility, have a role.
Right.
And when those roles, no matter what the circumstances are, we are going to be products of those roles.
Mm.
And the thing about it is if they are, whatever they're done, whatever influences that they are in those roles, we're going to carry those influences with us without knowledge of how they've actually impacting us as we move on through life. And
Yeah.
so in the video that I saw, it was a young man talking about how men have done things to accept the traumas that they were exposed to without even being aware
Hmm.
that they're being traumatized. Because what we do as men is we hide this stuff.
That's
We
true.
begin to look at situations that we've been exposed to and say, okay, now that is what's been acceptable. And I now have associated and brought and began to connect what I've experienced with what I'm expecting.
Mm.
And so it makes it difficult for us to be able to be authentically ourselves because we've been hiding for so long. We've been
Yeah.
covering up and covering up and covering up for so long that when it becomes evident that we become combative with anybody or anything
Mm.
that comes in contact
Yeah.
with that things that we've covered up.
Hmm.
That's all we know. And so as a result, we end up in situations where we will defend what we've covered up. something that my co-host on my other podcast shares with me oftentimes. We begin to defend what it is that we've become to know as our the things that we um that are not beneficial for us. We
Mhm.
defend them. We begin to defend it, and it really begins to hurt us, and we don't have another option because it's all we know.
Right, right.
And until we're able to recognize it, and that's why the key to this conversation tonight is about being aware, becoming aware
Yes. Yeah,
of what it is that we've been covering up. And that takes work.
it does.
That takes work.
And it's the work that we need to do because it's so many situations where you see, I've seen podcasts or people on podcasts, men who are sharing things that that they've dealt with from their marriage, from relationship, as a parent, as a dad, or whatever. And a lot of the issues that they talked about, that was um stimulating problems in those issues, always went back to something from their childhood. It always came back, the root, when you get, when you get to the root of it, it always came back to something from their childhood. What they didn't have growing up. Nobody ever showed them how to love, or nobody showed them how to be a man, or nobody showed them what love looked like because they didn't grow up into a household like that. So those are the things. That's why it's important for us to have these conversations, because trying to blindly love somebody, and it worked both ways, because women deal with those issues too. We have hidden issues in situation as well. So but because we've had those topic conversations for women, we give an opportunity to help our men, and so our partners, and those who struggle on a day-to-day basis, because I'm old school, so I want the men to, get back to their rightful place. They'll be the men, like, the head of household, the men that, ready to, to stand up and lead and do the things that they need to do, not just for their families, but for their communities and all these things. And a lot of times we have lost that because our men are struggling in so many areas, and they feel like they're unequipped to do those kind of things because they got all this other stuff behind the scenes that they're struggling and dealing with. And so I definitely I see we got people checking in. So thank you guys for checking in. Let us know where you're checking in from. And if you have any questions as we're diving into these topics, please shoot your questions in the comments, and we will address your questions and answer those questions. We want you guys to be interactive, because there are some things that, might hit, and you might say, hey, what about this, or things like that. And if you want to ask your question anonymously, you have that opportunity in our comment section. But we do want to give you an opportunity to ask questions while we have Mr. Juan here, so that way you can get a expertise opinion. And then also, if you feel like you need to go further and get in like therapy or resources for therapy, we'll be able to provide you some answers for that as well. So but make sure you check in through the comments. We want to make sure that you guys are sharing, and share this with a guy, because a lot of times our conversations are available to everybody, but this time we wanted to hone in on our men. We want to make sure that our men are getting the resources they need, that they're getting the priority that they need to be prioritized in our lives, because we want to be able to love them right. We ain't trying to rescue you. We ain't trying to save you. We just want to love you like you need to be loved. And so that's why this Heal That Bro episode is so important. So make sure you chiming in and you're checking in as well. Jada, if you have an opportunity to share that video that you shared with Mr. Juan, are we able to play that? Because it might help others see that video, and if they have questions, it might stem some questions for them as well. So let me know if you have that video ready to play. So as Jada is working on that, because I think that'll be very important since Mr. Juan brought that up, that video.
Well,
you know,
I summarized it in the sense of
yeah,
what the video was about, and I think it's a pretty good summary of the fact that men are dealing with things that
yeah.
they're unaware of,
Mm-hmm.
and for the most part, any relationship that we're engaged in, where we're unable to be our authentic self, the relationship is going to suffer.
Right.
The relationships are going to suffer. And what that video was basically, implying is that if you don't know that you have been suppressing things,
Mm,
that now is the time to do the work. If we want to be able to ever move on, if we want to move beyond where we are. And the thing about it is that when we don't know what we don't know, we have a tendency to continue to do what we don't know. We continue
exactly.
to do it over and over and over again because we see no harm in it. We don't know that it's not beneficial to us, but we've got to be able to look in the mirror and see that there's something wrong, that things aren't playing out the way we want them to play out in our lives. And I think that's a very difficult thing when we have not had anything to compare it to.
Mm,
When I started off, when I talked about my book and the author, when I was talking about the family, those roles in the family,
mm-hmm.
we've got to recognize that those roles are important. They're
Yeah.
not there as a something that we can have or we cannot have, and we can substitute. No, they're not. They're not things. We've got to take really a great deal of importance to think that the role of the family is essential,
Yes.
essential
Yes.
for building up and stronger children, build up stronger children.
Yes.
And when that is not the very nature of the thing that we're trying to protect at all cost, we have tendency to not be able to find out or to see years down the road the implications of
Right.
not having that type of tenacity in holding that thing together so
Right.
that you can be able to see, because that video was like he saw what he saw over and over and over again, and it embedded itself into him,
Mm-hmm.
into the man. And that meant that at a very at a very young age, where it was very fundamental, it really developed you.
Right.
And when that was what you knew. See,
Mm-hmm.
when you don't know that your father has a responsibility, he has this role to play in your life, and when he's not there, there's no substitute for that.
It's not.
There is absolutely no substitute for that.
Right.
And then 20 years down the road, we wonder what's happening because we've dealt with it and we've accepted things that we shouldn't have never had to accept.
And that is so important you say that, because it brings me to my next question to bring up the difference between supporting him and saving him, because sometimes we like to put ourselves in situations where we're trying to, like, thinking we're giving support, but we're actually trying to be the savior, and we put it off on the things like, well, he didn't have his father when he was growing up, or he was raised by a single mom or whatever. And as a single mother who's raising a young man, one of my biggest things that I have always told him, even if your dad has never been in your life, it's not my job to take your dad's place. I can only be mom, and I'm going to be the best mom that I can be to you, regardless, of the absence of your father. And so it wasn't my place. A lot of times we hear people say, oh, you being mom and dad. No, I'm actually just being mom, because at the end of the day, I can't teach him how to be a man. I can only love him enough to show that from a nurturing perspective, his mother, love him, and show him the love that he had in the absence of his father, but I can't take his father's place. And so we lose that sometimes, trying to be supportive, and and then we go into that savior mentality where we're trying to save people. So help us to break down the supporting role, and not be overbearing and become trying to be the savior with that.
Here's the thing. In a scenario like that where the father is not there, a mentor or
Mm-hmm.
that's how you support him. You find him a mentor, someone that is a male figure that he can aspire to and learn and gain that type of view perspective. He needs a perspective that a woman can't give him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's why a mentor is where men need men to be able to speak to them at the level that they can see what that means to be a man. See,
Right.
and that's how you cannot save him. And the best you can do is to support him and to get him a support, get him a mentor, get him someplace, something that can nurture that masculinity that he needs to be able to meet that requirement. And that's what I'm saying. That that man is going to show him something that there's no other way to show it. That's why the family, when it's together, there is no place that you can resemble what that can show a child. There's
Right.
nowhere else that a child can get that. It doesn't have to be biological. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be your child. But that family environment, you can take him into put him into someone else's family, and he can look how husbands and wives interact. He can see how mothers react to children. He can see how fathers react to children. He can begin to see how siblings react to each other. That's the only place, and that's the why I made that chapter of the book is the framework for life, because it's that ability to associate and to begin to establish those relationships are what you're going to be doing outside of the family. You're going to be trying to establish these types of relationships. And so that's how you learn how to do it. Now, when you don't have that foundation, you've got to now find out somewhere that can substitute those foundations, those types of lessons learned necessary for you to be able to now establish good, sound relationships. Because again, until that happens, we continue to find ourselves repeating what we've learned.
Right.
We have
Right.
no choice but to repeat what we've learned.
Right.
So when you say support versus save, no, you can't save. Support is to know what it's necessary, and what's necessary is someone that's another man. Another man needs to be in his life to be able to be able to give him a perspective, which is critical for him to be able to take on challenges that he's going to be facing with as he goes through his life.
Absolutely. Okay, so Jada has the video. We're gonna just do a quick little excerpt from the video to kind of give people an idea. The video that we were reviewing before we did this episode that kind of sparked this episode topic. So Jada's gonna start that video, and then we're gonna go into our next question, Mr. Juan, after that.
I want to have a heart to heart. When you choose to love and open your heart and you get met with a good woman, you're going to have to understand that sometimes that good woman is going to walk through doors that your mother never did. And there are a lot of men who will choose to stay emotionally unavailable because they're terrified of someone, a woman that they love, who's good to them, will see the little boy in them that their mother never protected. Regardless of what y'all think or say or feel about men, I'm passionate about this. They don't push women away because they're not ready. They push them away because closeness exposes what they've been avoiding their whole life. And most men aren't afraid of women. They are afraid of what women represent, the intimacy, the closeness, the connection, the accountability, the reality, right? Because the first woman that they ever loved, their mother was overwhelmed unavailable, inconsistent, fighting her own battles and demons. So yeah, she loved him, but she didn't teach him love. She taught him survival. She taught him emotional silence. She taught him that affection comes with conditions. And as he watched her break down, she never broke patterns. She watched her scream at a man and then open her door for him at 2 o'clock in the morning. He watched her say, "I'm done," and then take him back. And so what happened is his nervous system at a very young age fused chaos with connection. And then distance became safety. And so now as a grown man, he thinking that love is supposed to hurt, supposed to come with pain, supposed to put her through tests. And that softness is either a trap or it's just too good for me. It's too good to be true. And so when he meets a woman who is soft,
Yeah, that's that when I wish I could have liked that 1,000 times. Because when I said that he was hitting things so hard on the nail, like, and I'm thankful for that young man for being so transparent about the things that he's become aware of and that he's sharing, because it's so many would go through it and develop through that stuff and then keep it to themselves. But this kind of stuff, because you conquered those things that you have faced, it's good that you share those things because it's going to help somebody else. It's going to help, that's what heal that bro means. Like, we're trying to help you deal with that because you're not the only one that's dealing with it. Somebody else don't dealt with that and don't conquer that. So I'm letting you know, bro, you can conquer that too. So that's what that is all about. Well, one of the things I picked up on that when he said it exposes intimacy. And he said, a lot of men are afraid of that. Like, and to this day, men still struggle with intimacy. They confuse intimacy with, being intimate, physically, sexually. And that's not, and as women, we're like, intimacy is not all about that. You got it all wrong. That's why they have that concept, men are from Mars and women are from, because, the concept be so different. But, but men are afraid to be so vulnerable to let somebody see them or whatever. When, some of us women, we're not trying to see it to expose you. We're trying to see it so we'll know how to love you, how to support you, and then how to make home for you, how to make it a safe place for you and a safe space for you. And so, and not knowing that because it's blindly being hidden, we don't know how to navigate through that. And so help us, Mr. One, based off of that, when we're talking about intimacy, help us how we navigate through that, as when we're dealing with partners who are so hidden because if they feel like if I be transparent and open, if you see all of this that I'm hiding, you may not love me like I need to be loved, or I'm not deserving of that kind of love.
That's a heavy, heavy, heavy load. I will tell you that one of the things that, and again, this conversation, we need to be clear that this conversation is meant for everybody,
Absolutely.
everybody. But we're focusing on men because men have a tendency to hide intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
They are intentional in hiding because we have a society that says that we're supposed to present a certain way.
Right.
But when we talk about intimacy, it requires honesty.
Mm-hmm.
It requires being present. And you first have to be honest with yourself. You've got to be honest with yourself. And the only way you can communicate it is that you're honest with yourself first.
Oh yeah.
Because if you're not honest with yourself, you're surely not going to be able to communicate it.
Right.
And communication is essential in intimacy.
Mm.
It precedes physical.
Yes.
It doesn't exclude it, it just precedes it. And that's something that where you, especially as it relates to man-female relationships, when they are in that space, you don't know. It's almost like the sense which one comes first, the chicken or the egg. The fact of the matter is that if we can't communicate this bond, if the woman doesn't feel this intellectual stimulation, then her body won't respond physically.
Right.
And here's the thing for the male has to be enough honest about himself so that he's able to communicate it to the female, to the woman. And without that, intimacy is going to be, it's going to not exist because it's going to look differently to both sides. And when it comes time to present each other to each other, we speak in two different languages. We speak in two different languages at that point,
Right.
because I'm looking for something to validate myself, and you're talking and you're on your side wanting to be heard and seen.
Right.
And so it's difficult. So be honest. Men need to be honest and be present. The other one is to be present in the moment. Allowing yourself, being present in the moment is allowing yourself to know emotionally.
Mhm.
You have to be emotionally aware of yourself in the moment.
I
That's
like that.
critical. And that's also something that you need to get aware of what your emotions are.
Mm, that's good.
You don't
Yeah.
know what your emotions are. And I'll be honest with you, many men have no clue what their emotions are because they've suppressed them for so long.
Oh,
They don't, we can't identify them. We've not been aware of them. We don't even know what they look like.
yeah.
And so be clear about that with yourself. And then to be honest with you, because again, this is emotions are some powerful stuff, especially in the present, in the moment. Because
Yeah.
when you present yourself in the moment, you can't be concerned about how it's going to be received if it's your authentic self, if it's who you are authentically. And
That that is
knowing that is being able to be present in the moment.
yeah, I agree with that because I think about how um you was talking about how they suppress. They don't know how to be emotional because they've learned to suppress it, and they don't and I think that even can go back to like childhood because I mean, growing up, we've all heard somebody say, "Stop crying, man up, be strong." Don't be showing no weakness. Men are always given those type of, you know, um, commands or sayings, throughout life, especially from childhood growing up, and so they take on that, and so when they're dealing with something emotional, they don't and it and they feel like they need to cry, they suppress it because they've heard stop crying, you know so they know that I'm not supposed to cry. I'm not supposed to feel this. I'm supposed to man up, all these kind of things, and it's about to make me emotional talk about it, but but we need to allow them to, because I remember telling somebody before, um because I could feel the heaviness that they was dealing with. And I remember saying to them, I was like, whatever you need to do, it's gonna make me emotional. Whatever you need to do, if you need to scream, scream. You need to cry, cry. Like, do I need to take you to a boxing ring? Do you just need to punch a punching bag? Like, I need you to get it out. Whatever it is, I just need you to get it out. So that way you're not holding it in, you're not suppressing it or whatever, because I just felt it like, you could feel the heaviness. And it was just like he kept on wanting, like, I'm good. I'm good. You're not. I can tell you're not good. Like, scream, let it out, cry,
Well, see,
do
but
what you
that, but
do.
that's just it. It's that's why I said a man's perspective. For him to be, for you to say that versus a man to say that.
Right.
If a man was to come to me and say, "Okay, it's okay to cry," it's different than a woman coming to me say it's okay to cry. You've got to give him such a safe place that he's able to do that and understand who he is. Because look, and my wife and I will in a minute. I will share my emotions in a minute and will allow you to see my emotions in a moment.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't take anything from me to be emotional in the moment. Okay? I'm
Mm-hmm.
secure in who I am
That's
as
it.
as a man, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody can't do that. And so you the only way that you can do that is to see other men do it. And then you can begin to open up a little bit. But a woman to tell you it's okay to cry, you got emotional even thinking about it.
Right.
And see what I'm saying? That's that right there in itself is not, you can't feel what I'm trying to hide to protect you. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can't see what I'm trying to hide to protect you, and you're emotional. So you know, if your emotion, if I give you what I got, I don't know if you can hold it.
Mm.
It ain't, you can't
Mm.
hold it.
My goodness.
So I can't do it with you, because that affects your ability to be able to respond to me when I need you to
Mm.
be who you are. You can't fix me. And that's why men need to fix men.
That's
You need to give a man, he needs to be in a space so he can be able to see a man cry and know that it's okay. And at the end of it, walk out the door. And when he walks into you, everything is okay.
mm. Okay.
Because you depend on him. You depend on him. That's what he's there for, you to put your head on his shoulder. And he needs you to put your head on his shoulder.
That's
Okay?
that's good. I like that.
Okay, so you've got to be able to help him, to support him, is to give him the latitude and go. You need the man. You need some brothers that you need to hang out with. You need to get that support. There are many brothers groups, men groups around that if men need to understand. I'm in a part of a man's group. It's called Black Men's Network. If there's anybody who needs to get in touch with some brothers, let me know. Okay, it's a Black Brothers Network.
Mm.
Okay, and all they do, they're here, they support one another no matter what the circumstances are. And I'm saying, I mean, there was one brother who just had a breakup on with his girlfriend, and he came on and he shared it online, and man, they flooded him. They
Love.
flooded him. They was like, you're not in this thing by yourself, we got you. I mean, they came from all over the place. They were like, come on, let's go do lunch, let's do this. It's different.
I love that. And iron sharpens iron. And so if so many men realize that, you know, mm, yeah,
We're
yeah,
here. We are
yeah,
here. And that's what I'm saying. We're not alone. You're not alone. And so, as it relates to what we have to do, we can do it together. And then we can show up for the women that they're in our lives the way they need us to show up. But we've got to be aware. See, and what a lot of the men's groups that I deal with and I'm associated with, we know this picture that's on the screen right now is a prime example of what we're trying to overcome. It's these cracks, because guess what? That's what's underneath of a lot of us.
yes,
And what we do, we come together and say, okay, it's okay to peel back the crack. And then we begin to heal together. We don't have to do it alone.
right. I love that. Yeah, because if so many men realize that there's other men out there who's supportive, I think it helps because and men that are listening to the podcast, um, that's important. Find you a supportive men group, friend group, whatever necessary. Mr. Juan just gave you his group that he's a part of. So if you need to connect with that group, because it's important. Iron sharpens iron. So we don't need to, a lot of times we feel that men are not emotional, and they truly are emotional. Sometimes they're just undernourished, and because of that, you know like Mr. Juan said, they can't receive it from us. So because they're so used to being our protector, so they can't receive from it, especially if we're emotional. If we're in an emotional state because we're so concerned about what they're dealing with and what they're suppressing and all this, another man will help them, you know who are in need. And I said, our next question said, talks about the emotional neglect. And it says a lot of men weren't mistreated, they was just emotionally undernourished. So I'm asking, and we've heard things by, how do you feel, what hurt you, are you okay? So these are some of the things that men are, have a hard time, as simple as these questions are, have a hard time answering. So as grown men, they struggle to connect because no one ever connected with them emotionally. So when people do ask them that, they looking at people sideways, like, what do you mean? How do I feel? Why you want to know what hurt me? I'm not hurt. It's always a deflection with those. When somebody really just trying to, understand them and love them, and connect with them, and they're asking these questions honestly and wholeheartedly, you know, they're being deflected with other things because, they can't receive it. Um, so help us to understand, that from that kind of perspective.
Well, that happens, but again, that's a result of a cover up.
Mm,
That's a cover up. And actually, we've got to be able to come to the point of being able to identify our feelings. This again comes back to the point of saying, I've got to realize what my feelings are. Look, I'm not okay.
hmm
It's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
And see, we can't continue to facilitate this mask of saying it's okay. It's not okay. It's just not okay. He says it's important, but I need you to understand that maybe I can't talk about it right now, but I'm not okay. Okay? I'm not okay. And that's the first step of being aware of saying, okay, look, I need to do some work.
Yeah.
And again, what suppression does is this stuff, it allows, when you say I'm not okay, it comes down a little bit,
Mm,
because it allows me to say, okay, that there's something wrong, and guess what? Now I have a choice to do something about it. But if I say it's okay, it's nothing wrong, it's just building and building and building and building and building and building, getting bigger and building bigger. We've got to be able to open up ourselves.
yeah.
There's no cover up that we can get. We can't get past by covering it up. All it does is it gets bigger and bigger on the inside, taking up space
Mm,
that we don't have to give,
right.
because it's being occupied by this feeling of being inadequate, being traumatized. And it's okay. That's I can't say that enough. Know that it's okay. No, you can't get help if you can't identify what it is that you got need help with.
Yeah. It's okay not being okay. you
It's
know,
okay not being okay. But here's the point. And guess what? Throw it out there. Maybe it's just that you're viewing it differently, wrong.
right. And that's true because a lot of times, men are out here in survival mode because that's all they know. Like we said earlier, they play things down, or because they was taught earlier, so they deal with things differently. So they'll shut down, or they'll stay quiet, or they'll keep secrets, or they or when they're enduring pain, they want to be alone. And then as the protector and the provider, it's like I'm either the protector and the provider at all costs, or I'm in detached mode because I ain't doing nothing, because that's what I've seen before, where fathers have detached, and they was not accountable and responsible, and so you have those survival modes that are showing up in different methods, and it's not showing a vulnerability. It's only showing that the unhealthy side in them functioning through things and not being able to feel through things.
You'll run away from them.
Right.
You'll avoid them, and that's not going to be productive nor beneficial for a successful, healthy relationship. You
Yeah.
cannot avoid conflicts. You can't. They all they do is they accumulate.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
They accumulate because resolution is where you get to move forward, is to be able to move on. You can't do that. And so one of the bigger things that we're fight or flight, we're fleeing.
Mm, yeah.
We're fleeing. Instead of fighting, we're fleeing. Now, granted, guess what? It's easier to flee, but it doesn't resolve anything.
Right. Right. So, I want to go into we talked about the detachment. I know we brought up codependency as well. So, one of the things with codependency that we often see in like relationships um, or marriages, because um, you know we get so caught up, and I say we because women are dealing with the same things too. Um, we get so caught up in functioning rather than feeling. Um, we will attach ourselves to people and things where there's such a codependency, and 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 sometimes it's not a healthy thing, and a lot of time it's a detriment to us instead of a help to us. So can we kind of talk on some of those things when we're talking about codependency?
Well, I mean, again, in the context of what we're talking about tonight, um, codependency is anything that helps you avoid what it is that you're trying to not to confront. If you're trying to avoid things that are not going to be productive, not help you, that can be anything. That can be anything. And we've got to be able to identify those things. Um, and we were talking earlier about a case of something like a codependency where it relates to you can't see your own self because there's other people that are enabling you.
Right.
And you've got to be able to recognize those things that are hindering you from being able to be your authentic self, from being able to overcome and to be able to accomplish what it is that you're trying to accomplish. But all of this stems from being aware. There is no thing that oversteps the fact of being aware of what you're bringing to the table, where you're sitting in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
Many of us aren't aware that we're here, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally. We're not there yet.
Right.
And what this is saying to us is like, let's do it. Let's take an inventory. Let's look at our lives. Let's look at our situations and say, are we where we want to be? Is this the state that we want to be in? And be honest with ourselves when we make that statement. We just can't be surviving.
Right.
We can't just be surviving. That was a statement that I made some years ago where I realized that, surviving is not what this experience is all about.
Mm-mm.
This thing called life. We are in a space where we are to thrive, we are to develop, we are to be a part of something bigger than ourselves. And this is about being authentically who we are. And these are mind adjustments that we're having um, uh, uh, to make while in the midst of trying to understand traumas that have built us to this place, that have brought us to this place where we are. We've got to be able to see the bigger picture to be able to deconstruct some of the things that have caused us to see things the way we see them today.
Yeah.
And this is what they all do. These external circumstances or situations or people that
Mhm.
affect us negatively, that doesn't see what's in our best interest.
I agree, and when we and accountability is a real big part of that as well, because um, when you don't allow accountability to take its place, then avoidance and codependency, is is part of the problem. And so to an unhealed man, when you break up accountability, it feels like blame to him. you know um and then someone who's you know that when it feels like blame to him, then he's going to run to an area or a person or to a thing that allows the acceptance of whatever, whether right, wrong, or indifferent, whatever he's doing, to be accepted. And so that sometimes the accountability thing, they when they run from the accountability, they go to the codependency, so that way it's accepted, so they don't have to own up or be accountable for anything. They run to where it's accepted at, and so that's where that codependency takes root at.
Well, yeah, and again, this really goes back to these attitudes and the mindset that we're talking about. Attitude, responsibility. Um, these are the types of mindsets that you've got to be able to overcome. You've got to possess accountability if you don't want to be consumed by these other dynamics that are going to be then reinforcing that comfort that really makes you feel, that ability to see. Comfort doesn't require growth. Growth doesn't require comfort. If we're trying to gain something, comfort is not something that's going to be easy. It's not going to be something that I'm going to, when you're talking about growth, it's talking about discomfort. And that's what accountability does. It makes you uncomfortable. That's going to cause you to grow. That's what this is about. And I think life is about growing. And
Right.
I think when we realize that, then we look at confrontations as opportunities to grow. So again, all of these things are important to understand, that, as we talk about, and I talk about love and the attitudes of love, these are the attitudes of love that really begin to recognize how we navigate this space, this thing called life,
Yeah.
whereas as we're able to confront those uncomfortable things, and we can be accountable, making the choice. Becoming an adult is about attaining that accountability.
Yeah.
It comes with the territory. And for men, it is something that we can't run from. Yeah,
Right.
we've got the title now, assume the responsibility, the accountability
I
that
agree.
goes along with it.
I agree. And I think I seen something on Facebook. It's been a while back, but I remember reading something on Facebook where it says a healed and whole man does not have a problem with communicating, being held accountable, and what was the other one? It was like communicating, being held accountable, and he doesn't have avoidance issues. So and I think that's important to kind of recognize, because if somebody is completely healed and they're walking in their wholeness, if I had a conversation with somebody based off some things, they're not going to take offense to what we're having a conversation about if we're in a relationship. And they're not going to deflect or avoid it, or, not take any kind of responsibility on something. Oh, I didn't know that was an issue. I'm glad you brought that to my attention. If it becomes more of a combative and deflective conversation, then that goes to show you that person is not a totally healed or whole person. Because why is a normal something that should be a normal conversation is causing you to strike back with issues of wanting to be deflective or avoidance. So do you agree with that?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Now, again, that's also the groundwork for whether or not that's the right person for you.
I agree.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
because that's not only are they not ready, you're not the one. You're not the one, because it's how that response, you could respond two different ways and get the same answer. But if it's like, oh, you brought that to my attention, let me check on that, let me look at that, let me look into that, and then I can find out whether or not it's who I am or if it's just the way you're reading me. But at the same time, you can, if I'm clapping back, yeah, that's a sign that I'm not healed. That's a snapback, that's a clapback, that's a way that has to defend myself rather than be objective and begin to be able to look at this thing saying, okay, instead of reacting, I can respond to the conversation. But if I'm reacting, I'm still got some healing to do.
Okay. So look, that hour goes by so fast. I know we probably can talk about this on and on and on and on, but I just want to give you an opportunity to kind of recap and have some last minute summarized remarks, Mr. Juan.
Hey, I just want everybody to know that if there's anybody, again, I'm the founder of a nonprofit called Clear Journey, where we support individuals that are looking for answers to life's challenges. We talk about all areas of things. We talk about finances. We talk about relationships. We talk about health and wellness. We talk about overall self-improvement. We're here to help educate and provide resources. So if you have need, come let us know. You can find me over at clearjourney.org. And like I said, the brothers that we're associated with, the Black Brothers Network, just contact me and we can connect you to them. If there's that need for connection, that mentorship, very active group, just reach out to me and I'll hook you up.
Awesome. Awesome. Love that. Love that. So I'll just recap with this, women, I hope you guys took notes, because I was taking some notes. I always have my little pen ready when we have Mr. Juan on. But healing is not just a woman's job healing is not a woman's job for a man. Healing is a journey a man has to choose for himself. So women, that is not our job. We are not here to rescue him or to save him. We as women are here to support, encourage, uplift, and to inspire. But we cannot rescue someone who is still avoiding their own reflection. To the men who is listening today, your emotions are not weaknesses. Your vulnerability is not a flaw. Your healing is not optional. It's necessary. You deserve peace. You deserve wholeness, and you deserve to be loved, and to be loved without the weight of everything that you never possessed. So we are here to help you navigate through that. But you can't get there by staying silent. You can't get there by shutting down. And you definitely can't get there by avoiding the very thing that needs your attention. And that is you. So women, as you're listening as well, and as you're dealing with partners, loving blindly is not love. We got to understand that. Sacrificing yourself to save a man is not intimacy. It's exhaustion. You will be wore out. You can't be the therapist, the healer, the mother, and the emotional home for someone who refuses to do their part. So, on a healthy side of love, it requires two whole people, not just one healer and one wounded soul trying to soul hiding in the dark. So, moving forward, we need to choose clarity over confusion. That was one of my notes from the one before. We need to choose clarity over confusion, and let's choose boundaries over burnout. Let's choose our partners who do the work, not just want the benefits of the work, because healed men build safer homes, stronger relationships, and deeper connections. And healed women stop breaking themselves trying to fix what was never theirs to carry. So I want to thank everybody this week for tuning in and continuing to grow and heal with us through these necessary conversations. Thank you for being a part of Chit Chat Pod family. I know that Thanksgiving is next week. So you guys, we want to wish you guys a very happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy time with your family and loved ones, and take care of yourself and take care of your heart. Protect your peace. And remember, we're all healing from something. But healing becomes real when we stop hiding and start choosing ourselves. So that's all I have for you guys today. We will be back next week. I do have a friend that's going to be doing her book review next week. So tune in next week, next Sunday for that. But until then, you guys enjoy your Thanksgiving holidays. Mr. Juan, you and your family enjoy y'all holiday.
Well, indeed, you do the same.
I know. Are you a big cook for the holiday? You do the turkey? What's your specialty?
That's me. I drop a fryer in. I fry turkey on Thanksgiving.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Yeah, we're not going to have a lot of stuff, but we're going to do our main trimmings. And I'm the baker, so I normally bake, but because we're on the healthier side, we ain't having a whole lot of desserts this year, just a few. But we still have to have our little southern treats to keep it like we normally have it. But again, thank you, everybody. Hopefully we'll get a connection with your niece and AJ while he's at Yale.
Cool.
So, and speaking of Yale, let me say that congratulations to the Yale 2025 Bulldogs team. They clinched the Ivy League championship yesterday, and we're so proud of them. And they'll be going into the college playoffs. So this will be the first year ever that Ivy League is getting an opportunity to be in the college playoffs. So the two Ivy League teams, is actually two, Harvard and Yale will be both going into the college playoffs. So they both will be going, but the Bulldogs pulled off a 46 to 28 win over Harvard yesterday for the Ivy League championship for the big game. We call it the big game. So that was so fun to be there and watch. So I enjoyed the whole time. So to all my Yale moms out there who are traveling back home today, we enjoyed each other yesterday. You guys be safe, and you guys have a happy Thanksgiving, and don't let the boys eat too much because I got to get ready for this playoff game. So, but we'll talk to you guys and see you guys next week, guys. Have a good one. Bye.